Bernard? Wow. Okay, if we're gonna record, we need to have something to record.
Oh, yeah.
Video. Video's on. Yes, it's shown. Yeah, it's showing here. That's if someone joins us, you can see them on there, but it's recording us. Somebody shows up.
Yeah. Alrighty, bring this meeting to start. Welcome everybody to the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Committee on Sister Cities. We got Thursday, May 15th. We'll start with our old business. We have an update on the Sister City Trust and next steps.
Sure.
Bob Sullivan.
As you all know, Christine and I have been diligently laboring to get a trust in place in accordance with specifications which this committee has determined. The pathway to doing that, however, has not been smooth. The plan was to try and make it smooth by getting initial agreement of anyone who would seem to have a stake in this, which is the trustees of trust funds, this committee, to reach some kind of an agreement and present a unified recommendation to the city council, who would then approve and create the trust. To remind you, the trust idea was actually, and still is, simple: to create a small sum of money that would be available on short notice to the Sister City Committee to buy flowers for a visiting dignitary, or maybe take somebody to dinner at Massimo's or something like that. And so we put together a very simple document after 2 or 3 discussions here, modified it a little bit, and then in an effort to smooth the path through the trustees, we sent an initial draft to the trustees, and then I've had a few conversations with trustee Tom Watson, and Christine was in on the most recent of those. And the trustee conversations have not gone well. Initially, the problem we thought was the approval process, whereas because of the simple nature and small amounts that we anticipate, the idea was that the trustees would make payments from the trust on receipt of certification from the city manager that the vote of the Sister City Committee authorizing the expenditure was consistent with the purposes for which the trust was created. And we thought that would do it. There was some thought that, well, maybe every expenditure from the trust should come from the city council. And the problem with that is that would mean waiting sometimes as long as a month before we could make an expenditure. And that makes it a little difficult to take the mayor of some city in Italy to Massimo. So, as of yesterday, Christine and I met with Tom Watson to talk about these issues, and rather than resolve that one, which I think I have a resolution I'll describe in a minute, in fact, new issues come up. And a big one that came up yesterday was the idea that there can't be any commingling of funds put into the trust by the city, which the city would have been able to put in trust and money into the trust as we were initially contemplating. That can't be if there are going to be private trust funds into it. And actually, private funds are the major focus of the Sister City Committee's thoughts, with the initial contribution to the trust primed to be placed into it by one of our own members. So anyway, the issue is that after depositing into the trust, city monies would have to be handled differently in terms of how they were invested and how they were expended than the private funds. And it began to look like impossible bookkeeping. So so we are probably moving to where the trust would have to be modified so that it could only receive private money. And then with regard to the authority to expend money from the trust, I thought the resolution of the issue as between the city manager certifying that the expenditure is consistent with the trust and having to go to the full city council to approve every expenditure, I thought a good resolution would be to pick a number, $1,000, $2,000, and say up to that amount, you would follow the process whereby expenditures would just require city manager approval, but over that amount, you'll go to the full city council. And that's still on the table. I think that is what we will bring to the trustees when we talk with them. Christine and I are going to talk with the trustees next Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock or something like that. And we'll try to advance that idea or come up with a better one perhaps. And we're still, however, on the plan of trying to get the trustees and this committee to agree on the terms before it goes to the city council, thinking that that'll mean no problems at the council. So that's where we are. The next step is for us to go to the trustees next Wednesday. We will certainly have to come back to you another time after that. And that's an update with the trustees.
Are there other trust funds that have that kind of dollar example? Like what's
I
been in
did.
practice?
I made it up myself. I don't know for sure that somebody else hadn't thought of it earlier and put it in some trust, but I did not.
Because at one point, the city made the change that everything goes, any donations are
That's a,
recognized by the council. That's fairly
That's
recent.
donations though. That's
Yeah,
not
the-
expenditures. Yeah.
There is a limit though, of like a line. Yeah. Something below the city manager can approve without the council's. So I forget what the.
that's what I'm gonna,
Right,
that's what we're gonna propose.
yeah. But there's, right now, like currently, the city manager can approve.
Well, yeah, except that keep in mind, the city manager doesn't approve the expenditure. The city manager just certifies that the expenditure is consistent with the purposes for which the trust was established.
Yeah.
We
And
talked a little about, what are the optics to somebody who wants to donate? How do you make within the trust? We explain the mission, what are the options, times for which we would use this money,
Yeah.
so that anyone donating money feels comfortable. Either they do or they don't, I'm in favor of you buying flowers or taking dignitaries out to dinner or sending T-shirts on a trip to Nichinon or something, or you're not. But it's pretty clear when you're donating the money.
Yeah.
And then we also thought after the discussion that if the city government did want to give some money, that they could simply put it in the budget as expendable
Yeah.
by this committee and it wouldn't have to commingle, which seemed to be that big issue
Yeah.
in the trust.
Yeah, because I guess I had never expected city money to go into the trust.
Because the idea
Yeah.
was not using taxpayer money, which
Exactly,
by
definitely.
definition is city.
so it won't be a big deal to eliminate that. Well, we'll have to put in a trust that they can't accept.
Yeah, yeah, but I think that's fine, and I think, like you said, you could, if the city did find it, that they did want to spend money some year, they could
Just
do that.
budget it.
Right.
Right, then the budget, then.
It'd be a way.
It just
And
doesn't,
the
it
mayor's
just doesn't get
budget, which is-
invested
Yeah,
with the trust.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right, thank you both.
Yeah, no, thank you both.
This is, I have to add, more work and more difficult than you would expect.
Yeah,
Tom Watson has been a friend of mine for, I don't know, maybe 40 years, and we are close friends. But the discussion at some point yesterday became rather heated
you did.
about this.
I know
So
Tom well as well, and
I'm trying to advance what the committee this committee wants.
yeah.
And it was meeting a lot of resistance. So,
Do you feel it'd be appropriate if I spoke with him? And I just run into him sometime getting coffee about,
yeah, sure.
yeah,
feel free.
Yeah. And I don't know if their concerns are just transparency or, you know, I understand the concern not wanting to put city funds into a trust.
Was our concern.
Well,
Yeah.
To give you an idea of the kind of comments that led to the frustration was, he said at one point, well, you have to be concerned and protect against misuse of the sister cities trust. And he gave as an example this one. A wealthy person wants to go to Italy for a lengthy, expensive vacation. So what that wealthy person does is makes a contribution to the sister city trust and then has this committee approve that person going to Italy as our representative. And the person would have then gotten a tax deduction for submitting the money into the trust and got to spend the very same money on a vacation to Italy. And we have to think about these things and make sure that they can't happen.
Yeah.
Well, that I think is where the conversation
Yeah.
started to get a little warmer.
No, and I can understand where, you know, even if you put a clause in that says the donor can't use the funds, they could create an LLC and they could, you know, it's donated by their,
It's like,
I know,
yeah.
again, the world we live in, all right.
Yes, it does make it an interesting question, though. If I want to donate $1,000 to this trust and I'm on this committee, am I benefiting? Because we have decision-making, you know, we make decisions here.
I don't think you benefit until the funds get spent on something that benefits you,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is what Tom was saying. We
because
have to
the
watch
school
out.
donate, but the people who are invested in this committee and in what we're doing, we can see over the years, many people who serve on this
That's
committee
right.
saying, I'll give
If
$500.
you make a large donation to this trust, you can forget about the sister city committee sending you to Italy.
Yeah.
Oh, no, did you say?
But how about Carrick Fergus? Can I go to Carrick?
Yeah. Folks, you donate over $500.
Okay,
So that's where we are. We'll report back to you when there's something to report.
So do we need to do something with the language of this trust? Are you guys gonna?
I
do-
suggest that you leave it to Christine and myself,
I think that's
and
what
we
we'll
will
do.
bring you back
Alright.
a draft that we think we'll get through.
So I just want to add my appreciation for all of that. And like I said last fall, when we mapped out our costs for the hosting, the actual hosting, and just confirmed yesterday, we are hosting back-to-back Italy and Japan.
again,
First 2 weeks in October again.
these are gluttons.
Oh, yeah, we are. It wasn't my call. No, we're excited but we know now exactly what that costs. And that's excluding any of those things which we need to talk about when it comes to what those official receptions are. You know, our teachers last year bought platters somewhere to feed folks, to gather families, and the consul general from the embassy, and you know, so it's one of those, like, we had after we bought, you know, buses and lunches and, you know, a million other costs that we map out, we were done. There was no more money to even do a simple thing like that. So as all this work is happening, that's just still a press for us. And we're going to continue, and we'll figure it out, and
So
you
are
know.
you budgeting what it cost you last year as part of the schools?
Yeah, that was the first time we were able to really map out. And that's kind of bare bones. These were not charter buses, and they weren't getting, you know, great lunches in Harvard Square, but it did include a lot of, you know, really what we believe are representative of our hosting and our, you know, for our guests. And, but we want to, I'll talk about the receptions that both of our sister cities provide for us, whether it's Nichinanen or Sant'Arcangelo, and it's pretty significant, and it's from the city, right, as opposed to the school partnerships. Yeah, so.
Well, and that's an example of what Bob and I were mentioning, that, you know, you plan these things many months in advance.
Yeah.
But what if 2 weeks before they arrive, you realize that the costs were higher than last year's by 5%, and you no longer have it, and you need to come to this committee?
Yeah.
We want to be able to say yes in a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And not wait until we can get on the agenda.
Yeah.
At city council 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. And what does this committee council, when all things are said and done, how is this city then, or council committee, preparing for those two receptions for our guests officially as sister cities?
Which is
Um,
why we'd like to get.
Yeah, that's why, yeah. So
So that-
knowing that, there'll be a Thursday night one on the first week and a Wednesday night one on the second
Right.
week, whatever.
Moment, nothing because we have no money.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but knowing,
as Stephanie said, this is the,
yeah, this
the
is
goal.
5 months out or whatever it is to say, okay, is that something or, and when would I know from my role that we're hitting up our own partners and friends in the community, say, help us throw another, reception like we did the first year with Santa Concha.
Into the conversation with the trustees of the trust funds, I think the point is important that by setting up the trust fund, we formalize that process. Because the receptions happen, people do donate, your teachers bought the platters.
Yeah.
By formalizing that process that is going to happen, we encourage others to help. So that it's not that the people who are doing it continue to, but don't feel like they're hanging out in the wind, and other people support it. So it just makes it more of a transparent process.
and a
I mean,
template,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, anybody could come in and pay for a reception and then you're beholden theoretically to that person, to look at the flip side. So just making it official and transparent and helps at the
Yeah.
end of the day, helps
Yeah.
pay for the receptions.
Yeah, things like that. And so, yeah, no, it's exciting. I mean, I know it'll take I think to Bob's point, the complexity of this reveals itself every step you
We'll
take.
get there.
Yeah. So,
Go on to item number 2, follow-up from
So
Fulton.
with everybody's
You need to
permission,
go,
I-
yeah.
yeah.
Good luck in Nashua.
Yeah.
Safe drive.
Give
Yeah.
Alderman Macbeth.
Try-
Going from Portsmouth to Nashua is not like that exciting.
No, there's
Especially not,
the Western Frontier. Yeah, the Western Frontier is something.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You wanna take it?
So, sure, I included this letter in my
Yep.
with the agenda, so there was just some cleaning up the language.
drive carefully, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And then in the third paragraph, there's a link. If we do this by email, I would spell it out. If it's a if it's a mailed thing, I
Yep.
would spell it out. Otherwise, it's a link to the council priorities page
Yeah.
in the city website. And then we had talked about in the last meeting, suggesting a Zoom discussion. And that was about the only difference. We had talked about asking them, what were you thinking? And not really saying, let's do these 5 things, but rather, okay, you open this door, what have you got in mind? And we'd love to have, love to keep talking. So I would ask for approval of this committee for us to get this ready for whoever we think. You signing it, you and the mayor signing it.
Sign it. Yeah. I mean, I'd have the mayor, I'd ask the
Because
mayor.
it went to the mayor, the original
Yeah,
letter
it had-
could be.
So I guess I'll wait a motion to approve the letter and send it to the mayor, send to Mayor McEachran.
So move. Second.
Second.
Okay,
All in favor?
I,
Chair votes aye. All right, I think this is a good letter that, doesn't assume anything, but continues the conversation. Okay. Hopefully they're, have the same goals we do.
okay, I'll work with Joanna to get this
All right.
in the format she
Yeah.
wants for the mayor.
All right, we'll hand it over to the new business. Hand it over to you, Steve. for an
Yeah.
Update on the most recent HSC change.
Yeah, no, I,
The pictures.
yeah, just unbelievable. Another unbelievable trip. Yeah, I wanted to actually start with this.
Wow.
So this was all over the city in 8-foot banners and on every single desk in City Hall. And what this represents, I don't think anyone could see it online, but if you look at the script, there's 3 sentences essentially. And the first one is 40 years with Portsmouth.
Yeah.
120 years since the treaty
And 100.
and 170 for Baron Comora's birthday,
Oh.
all in this year.
Okay.
Wow.
So when I say every desk in City Hall
Yeah.
And the mayor, when I eyeballed them, I asked the mayor, I need to take one of these back. Like, is that okay? Like, I don't want to steal it, but I will. No, he was very gracious. And then in front of City Hall, 8-foot banners blowing in the wind and various locations around the city. And that's, to me, it's indicative of everything this committee is trying to do, especially in the last conversation too, with this idea of how do we get behind it financially and otherwise. And it's there, like it's already there in our partner. And in Sant'Arcangelo, given its newness, obviously they've had a lot more time to kind of work around this. But what you see and what you experience there is truly whole community. I mean, whole city. And Nichinan is larger than Portsmouth, right? So it's, it's this, I don't know how people process it, but it's larger than Portsmouth, both in area and in population, with dynamic industries. And, so it's really amazing that this, not a small little town, but a significant small town, is just so committed to this global connection. And that's what I hope. Yeah.
Sorry, who
Yeah.
paid for all those? Who
The city.
organized it? And do you think it has anything to do with the big Sister City Expo and Osaka Expo?
Oh, potentially. The city, I actually sat with the mayor a little bit and we talked about there's a word for it and I'm just blanking now, but it's basically where that budget comes from to have this. So their reception dinner is all the families. So we brought 24 kids, 8 faculty, all the host families, all of the city council folks, all of the public school board people, the private school, because Nichinan Gakuen is actually a private school, our partner. So when I say, I mean, I can't actually give you a number, 200 people in this reception, full meal, full, not hors d'oeuvres, I mean, full meal. And hours of just connecting and sharing and, kids and performances and things like that. But that's the city function. That's what happens on the first night in Nichinan. And then there's a school reception. Then there's, so it's really remarkable that the time the mayor and his team take with us, the faculty, and then we had a meeting with all the students and the mayor as well, and a Q&A session, and our kids were amazing and brilliant, like always, and their questions about industry and economics and environment and social stuff for families and kids. And
With corporation.
yeah, really, yes. It was just, you go, wow, this is a full court press from the city of Nichinan. Our time with the school is wonderful and amazing, and a conduit for a lot of it, but it really felt like it was the city's.
Did you feel like that was stepping up even from where they were in
A
previous?
little bit,
Because
yeah.
that, I mean, the city absolutely did a reception.
Yeah.
The year I went there, we met with the mayor, we did all that, but this seems like
This was more, even than last
the
year.
chamber and their
Yeah.
building 86 building
Yes,
used to, or the year I went, they were very involved in this city reception. and
Yeah.
It was the school side, but this sounds bigger.
yeah, this sounded big. It felt bigger than last year even. And then the experiences the kids had, the care that was taken by the families in the school and even the mayor and his team, was pretty remarkable and definitely a step up. And I wondered if it was the 120th anniversary, and that's one thing I think was communicated, but should be again. We wouldn't look at 120 as the big celebration. We might pick 125 or 150 or 100,
But they don't.
but the way numbers are, that's the big year.
It's
That's,
a 12
by
multiple
3?
there.
yes,
Oh, it's the 12.
12.
Is it
and-
the Chinese astrology?
Yeah, so hence the banners and so I don't think there was any loss of our, I think they welcomed us on this great anniversaries and they happen to converge in really strategic ways numerically. So I think all of this big push was profound to the point where the mayor is taking his own team and coming in September for the bell ringing.
Oh,
Yes.
good to know.
I know. So that's part of this, sharing. I do have the, his second hand, right hand, him and I spent, some time together just mapping that out. So he's got a small team from his council. He's got a small team from the public schools. He's bringing 3 students that represent schools from all across the city, mostly high school age. And they're going to be here for the bell ringing. And beyond. So I think that behooves us to then start calibrating.
Yeah.
So as I get more details, I'll include this committee and anyone else who wants to be a part of that, because that's separate from the Nichigakuin visit in October.
And the Japan America Society organizes the bell ringing, so yeah.
Yeah.
We'll obviously.
We'll close all those gaps. And so he was very excited to, in this 120th year, to make sure this was his year to be present and kind of consolidate the celebration, as it were. So it's just really exciting that where I kept thinking, like, okay, do we show up at 125th year, like with a big we'll buy our 5 years and celebrate our version of that. So that part, the families, the I won't say the burden, but the financial, the time commitment was just tremendous. And our number one partner now is an English teacher there. Shino is her name, and I think she was really thoughtful. She came in the fall too, so I think that was her first trip over. And I think she was thoughtful about the placement of the kids and the families they went to and the activities they had lined up for the kids. Was definitely a step up. And they really committed. And maybe it was this 120th anniversary. So the fall is in that 120 year, and I think it behooves us to welcome them in basically now 2 visits, the September mayor visit and then the school visit in October.
Steve and I had talked, I don't think I mentioned it at the last meeting of this committee, but I floated the thought that the Japan America Society of New Hampshire has been contemplating how to revive the interest of all of the students who went on the trip before.
Yeah.
People all over the city. Nancy Clayburgh's daughter
Yeah.
said it was life-changing. That's the phrase. Everybody who does this trip in particular. And you went, and so kind of doing an alumni reunion
Yeah.
at some point, and we're talking about doing it during the school visit, which probably makes the most parallel sense,
Yeah.
but that would be on the occasion of the 120th anniversary,
Yeah.
really a key way of doing it. And the Japan America Society would essentially organize that
Okay.
with the Alumni Association, because I don't know how to get in touch with any of these people, but I have all their names.
Yeah.
So, starting now to try to.
Yeah. I agree. And we're very lucky that our faculty alumni from the Nichinan trip are all basically still around with us. And they have a lot of the memory of that, and they remember the kids they went with. And
Is the English teacher in Nishinan more comfortable with her English now?
every day gets better and better. And
I mean, she had huge shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Because Key was
Key.
such an American.
yeah.
Um,
No, it was great. And I think she's not going to come this year, just I think for normal family stuff. But
Right.
as we spent more time in the school too, there are faculty in other departments whose English is profoundly proficient and wonderful. So we got to meet a lot of folks this year where I thought, so I asked Shino to tell me who she thinks is coming. But what's remarkable, obviously technology and Google Translate's amazing, and it doesn't slow down anything, as you've been, so so that the September visit of the mayors is key, and I'll gather more details and share with the committee. That's a small group. Like I said, I do need to find homestays for those 3 students that are coming. So that we're pretty good at now at the high school to make sure we have that. And then the October visit is 18 students, handful of faculty. Yeah.
You, for those 3 students, you might just float the balloon to Sawako Gardner, Judge Gardner.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
She's vice chair of the Japan Society.
Yeah.
Her daughters both participated. She hosted students, I think, before. I
Mm.
don't know where, whether
Yeah.
that's even practical, but I
Yeah,
think she
that's
would
good,
be
yeah.
happy to be asked.
Yeah, and I think what we're looking at is, well, I want to know from them, from the Nichi team, because it's not Nichigakuen or it's not, so I want to know what their expectations for those students are. Do they want them in school? Do they want them touring? So that's, as we have those meetings, we'll kind of figure out the details, but yeah, she'll definitely be on the list. She was very helpful. We had a few allergy issues for kids. So she helped create the allergy cards in Japanese so the kids could go to a restaurant and say, please, read this. Yeah, it was great. No issues. Because one was a sesame allergy. Like, oh yes, that's everything.
Yes.
But no, it was wonderful. And yeah, and that trip gets outside of the Nichi time, which is beautiful in 4 days and remarkable. And the trip as a whole is so wonderfully calibrated and coordinated. And we leave Nichi, go to Kyoto, and then spend time in Tokyo. And it is the perfect sequence of events from rural, even though Nichi's a bigger town, but it's in the last island, Kyushu, and so more rural or less travelers, as it were. And then into Kyoto, which is like a Boston. It's a college town with tons of history, and then Tokyo, which is the center of the universe, in the city that every city wants to be. I think safe, clean, tolerant, open, modern. Yeah. So the kids, by the time the second day in Kyoto, they think of themselves as the most savvy global travelers. They can navigate trolleys and subways, and it's remarkable to watch their comfort and confidence grow in being in a place. And this year's crew, I just want to say, I think, and maybe it was the Nichi time, because that sets the trip up so wonderfully in our first 4 or 5 days. I felt it, I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like this crew, and again, it must be some of the reception we received in this anniversary year. It felt like our students understood that they were the holders and ambassadors of 120-year history, and that it's this little part of the world history global events. It's very Portsmouth. It's very Portsmouth High School as we've owned it, and lived it. But everywhere we went, I got the sense that they felt like proper ambassadors, proper global ambassadors for Portsmouth, and the legacy holders of this wonderful history. So it was just such a proud moment for me as the principal and as a member of the community, to be with them over those 2 weeks, 10 days. Yeah, it was just really, really special.
Fantastic, because there have been years that they weren't sure why Nishinan.
Yeah.
Something about a sister city, but not real understanding of what that meant.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. to
Yeah,
hear.
really, really deep in a beautiful way. And yeah, so I just wanted to name that because I think that's something that's I want as principal, I want to make sure we are the proper holders and keepers of this tradition and of this legacy and this history. So yeah, we have some really great ideas bubbling up of what we want to do at Portsmouth High School.
Because the 3 people who do it now are getting pretty old.
Yeah. So yeah, we're excited. And just in a continuation, the Center Congelo trip in February, I think as life-changing, as welcoming. There are, I don't know of any, this is my 5th high school in my 30 years as a teacher. I was always running global travel and trips, and I don't know of any public high school that runs trips like this, that has this background of sister city. Because when you show up in Center Congelo, you show up as family. And you show up in Nichinan, you show up and you are welcomed like family. Lots of schools go on EF tours and trips and travel and see wonderful things and have wonderful experiences. I just don't think there's anything like the reception our kids got in Italy, in Sant'Arcangelo. You know, we met the mayor here. He came. I met them in Italy, before. And the reception, the continuous care that's provided in both of these communities, Sant'Arcangelo, no less, even without 120 years behind the partnership, it was as robust and connected in such a rooted way. That's what I think we want to leverage, both from this committee's perspective and any efforts we can take, definitely at the school level. We know we're limited, though. We know we run short on a lot of the things that, we need the partnership and, and so I think we're ready, and I don't know where or how, but is there a place or time where our students or our faculty get in front of council? Like, how is that done, or how do we approach that?
It strikes me that when we get this trust to council, that would be the opportunity to show the benefit
Yeah.
of why we're doing this. And I have to say that there are, as Christine and I know, even from the Japanese sister cities across the country,
Mm.
there are a lot of cities who have very well funded, deep rosters of people who organize the sister city. They can pay for things, but you can't buy that feeling of being an ambassador for something that's important and being family. To have that is just astounding. Everything else we figure out,
Yeah.
because we're in New Hampshire
Right.
and there's never any money for
Can't
anything.
budget hospitality, like,
Yeah.
right?
No, and the
that-
care and these two sentences say Portsmouth in them, right? Like banners
I
all
hope
over
you
the
have
city.
Pictures of the
Yeah, yeah,
mayors at the
yeah.
city.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just remarkable that
Yeah.
and when you walk into City Hall and it's an open, very different concept here, but you walk up from the lobby and it's a very modern, beautiful building. So it's an open, the offices are open, like the offices are, right? So the mayor obviously has an office, but
Yeah.
the workflow is just a big giant open room. So as soon as you step in, you see this on every single desk. The other thing they had, which was our kids, and there's pictures at some point, I'll share the whole folder. Our students were guided through city council chambers. One of those remarkable things about it is it's open to the entire city. Two giant walls of windows overlooking the city as city council makes decisions.
That's
And I
nice.
thought, this is a profound architectural design,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Can you imagine having to look at your city and be accountable to your city? So, yeah, really great. The kids, I think we did the same. They sat here in our chambers and stuff. And, yeah, the mayor was fantastic with the kids, and same at Sant'Arcangelo, they were in City Hall. They were part of all of that operation. And, yeah, so we're lucky that these two profound relationships are absolutely thriving. And the language, what's really great about us at the school, and I think for the parents as well, who participate either as hosts here or sending their children out, this idea that we have students now coming home telling stories, and that was put on hold, right? Sant'Arcangelo is brand new. Obviously, it's our first time ever going, but their kids are coming back to school, and the ask of the student body at Portsmouth is, when can I get on the Italy trip? When can I get on the Japan trip? And in 3 years, I have not heard that, but this spring, a buzz in the building around this partnership. And yeah, and when we host them in our school assembly, that was wonderful last year when we did that one. And yeah, so we're really excited, and the faculty is thriving and they're excited about it. Laura's got new partners, the Sant'Arcangelo, Joe Marquette was brilliant in organizing, and now Kristen Artignano and Sam Tomborelli, and there's just a wonderful group of faculty and staff that are ready to help and pitch in. And be a part of that.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's nothing like 900 kids cheering.
Yeah.
That was
yeah,
extraordinary.
it was really,
As
really
79
profound.
kids came in last.
Yeah,
night. It was
and they went,
amazing.
our kids really, they were great. They were great. And so, yeah, so just really exciting. A lot of work ahead too, though, right? So we're already ramped up with, we haven't even finished the photo album of debriefing the trip, and we're planning for the October and September trips as we host, now move into hosting.
I'd be really interested in trying to capture what the Japanese students wearing my other hat, their reaction to that greeting, because we have all this information about the citizen diplomacy
Yeah.
in the street in 1905, when people were lined up 5 deep on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
As you're watching that film and understanding that all these people got dressed up to come out on a Tuesday afternoon in August to welcome these visitors, there
Mm.
theoretically are impressions that members of the Russian and Japanese delegations had, but trying to find them is very difficult.
Yeah.
So, continuing that legacy,
I love that.
getting some feedback
Yeah.
from the students as to, what was that like? Because clearly our kids, as you just explained, had that reaction to the way they were greeted in
Yeah.
Nishinan. And getting some of that recorded in some
Yeah, I love that.
format would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're talking not only to their classmates about how great it is, or to their families, but to the community.
Right.
Yeah.
What did a trip like that mean? Would be nice for us to be able to capture and.
Yeah,
record.
yeah, and hence the reason why a lot of these folks, kids in particular, want to be in front of the council, want to be in front of the board, want to be,
Public comment every night. They want
Yeah.
that.
But I do
Please.
think.
Yeah,
yeah,
putting
that's
it on
right.
the
I guess they could take
agenda-
the 3-minute quick.
yeah. You can
You
do that
know.
on Monday.
Uh,
But I do think it is true when we go to get
Yeah.
approval for the
Yeah,
trust,
I'm-
that would be an
Yeah,
appropriate.
I
no,
think
definitely,
you're-
'cause there'll be the same questions asked then, and,
Yeah,
I mean, I had a hell of a time just getting my impact fees going for the rec board, and it was at 10:30, they didn't pay attention to any of the rec board meetings. We've been dealing with it for 6 months. It failed. It was really
Oh.
frustrating. So I have other business I have to
Yeah.
attend to.
Okay.
I just want to talk about next meeting.
yeah.
I don't think we want to meet on Juneteenth, right? We want to meet
Yeah.
on June 26th. We want to plan on that. That'd be the 4th
Oh,
Thursday.
18th is a Thursday?
Yeah.
this year, yep.
So we'll move it to the June 26th. Do that.
Okay,
Does that work with for everybody?
yep.
Yeah.
I will send that out right away.
And we'll just do 4 o'clock again.
Yep.
I shouldn't have any conflicts then. Baseball will be over.
Yeah.
Already?
We're already in the playoffs.
Wait,
And there's a green tea gift for anyone who, I got more, but it's the only one I could grab, so there's a lot, so.
June.
If you like green tea and this is from Nichinan, from the hills of Nichinan.
Awesome.
Yeah, so very
So-
cool.
The 26th.
Thank you.
Okay, I won't be here, but I will send everything out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's a very particular.
We're
area.
meeting next Wednesday, so it should be.
Any public comment? Is there anyone online?
Nope,
Anyone?
nobody online today.
Alright, I'll wait,
Motion to adjourn.
second,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
great. Yeah, no, we're in 100%. We are raring to go. So who's a green tea fan? Yeah. And I'll bring more. That's one pack, actually.
Actually, only one pack?
No, I know I had a whole bunch more. Fujiwara, who's the